Welcome to Bridging the Bayou, where we will explore what it means to work, live, and play in the Bayou Region. Join us as we take a deeper dive into the people and experiences that make our region such a special place to live and work. On each podcast, we will talk to individuals who are making our region grow and go, who are making strides in uplifting our community. This is a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Welcome to Bridging the Bayou, a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. I'm your host, Kristine Strickland, Chancellor here at Fletcher. Excited to welcome our latest guest, Dean of the Beams Division. I'm going to tell you what Beams is in just a minute, but welcome Susan Guerrero to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you here. Let's just take just a quick minute. What is Beams?
Well, BEAMS stands for Business, Education, Arts, Math, and Science. But I like that acronym because there's so much things that can go with beams. There's beams of light. There's balance beams. There's beams to be focused on. So excellent. I really like the beams.
I like it. And you know what? I thought of foundations. I was like, isn't that funny? We teach technical programs, beams of a building construction.
Keeping it together.
There we go. We build students up. So, well, welcome to the podcast. And you might be aware we like to do the 5 in 5 to get to know you a little bit better as we start our conversation today. So I'm going to start off with really very simply, why did you choose a career in higher education, and maybe why technical and community colleges?
23 years ago, I walked into the building that was on St. Charles Street. And I was going in to fill out an application to be a student because all of the jobs were for accounting. And I didn't feel comfortable with accounting because I never really did like it. That's not my thing. I'm a marketing management person. Okay. So I walked into the building and I turned right instead of left. And I asked for an application, and they asked me if I was there to be to fill out an application for the business instructor. And I said, yes, ma'am, I am. So I filled out that application. I went into the interview, and I knew several people that were there interviewing, and I didn't know you worked here. And I got lucky. I did substitute teach for a while in the public school system. And I did that because Lainey Barrio told me that I was going to be a teacher one day because I like to talk and I like to explain things. So I think I was always destined to be an educator, but I never really saw myself in a high school setting. And I didn't know a whole lot about Fletcher at the time, so our marketing is really working.
Excellent.
People know about Fletcher now. So
well, that is a great story, and I am so glad you just happened upon Fletcher. Excellent. Mm-hmm. So question number 2, tell me a book that's had a significant impact on you.
Okay, so I've heard you ask that question, so I'm prepared.
I'm making a list. I have a book list for myself.
It might not be very philosophical or educational book like some of the others, but The Old Man and the Sea.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
It's not, it is a popular book, but my grandfather was a charter fisherman. And so he brought people fishing a lot. He loved doing that. And I always pictured him in the book. But it's all about persistence, dedication to what you're doing. And, I miss my grandpa. But he taught me a lot.
Wonderful.
So.
Wow. Wonderful. How old were you when you first read it?
In 6th or 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times have you read it since then?
All right, so kind of cheated a little and read it a bunch of times for different book reports in school.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I actually thought when you said you kind of cheated that you were just going to tell me you read the Cliff Notes. And I was going to be like, oh.
Read it several times, but I'd read the same book for book reports for different classes.
Yeah.
Because I loved it so much. But there was always a different theme that I pulled out of it. Yeah. Like some really good books and movies, you can watch them throughout different periods of your life and you pull out different things. So
I so agree with that. And I always find, too, that sometimes there's a book for a certain period of your life that just speaks to you in a way that you're just like, holy cow. I've actually read books after and then thought, wow, that didn't have the same impact on me as it did the first time I read it. And I think it is. I think it has a lot to do with kind of where you're at in your life when you pick up the materials. So, well, thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
I don't know that I've read that one, so it's going on the list.
It's short. Sure. It's a short read.
Excellent. All right. So the next one up is tell us maybe one or two life lessons that you've learned along your journey that you wish somebody would have told you earlier.
Well, one was it's okay to brag about yourself.
Okay.
I've never been a toot my own horn person. But until recently, I've learned that, and Laney Barrio again, taught me that if you don't, sometimes other people don't do it for you, and so you won't get noticed if you don't. You're not the squeaky wheel. I never was the squeaky wheel or the person that look at me, even though I do like performing.
Right.
but I'm not a good bragger.
Okay.
But sometimes you do need to do that to get what you want.
Yeah.
Be that squeaky wheel. On the other, that's kind of a negative side of it. You have to complain to get what you want, but you also have to showcase your skills and your strengths to make people notice you.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say arguably that's self-confidence.
Yeah,
Maybe not even
yeah.
bragging, but just being able to share with the world what you're good at, because all of us have good gifts.
Right.
So why not let people know what those are a little bit?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. What do you do to unwind and recharge outside of being the Dean of Beams?
So I love watching movies. I think I watch at least one movie every single day, even if it's one that I've watched.
Really?
Yeah, already. So
Wow.
yeah, even if it's in the background while I'm doing things, but I take time to watch movies. But I also like traveling. So I don't like having a schedule when I'm on vacation.
Oh, so
those
you
people
go with no itinerary?
Yeah, with the itinerary and the agenda. And I just like to go and see what I feel like doing that day.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. What's the favorite movie? Or
Oh
what's a
my
movie that you
gosh.
can't resist? You're walking past the TV, you see it on, and you're going to sit down and watch it.
There's so many, but
Really?
I really like horror movies, but I do like psychological thrillers. Edward Norton is one of my favorites. Primal Fear was a really good one. I love the multi-personality DID type movies.
Yep.
Who Did It type movie.
Yeah.
I just like all of them.
All right.
I'm a big Disney movie fan, even though I don't go to the park and
Yeah.
things like that. But I love Princess and the Frog. It's just hilarious to me. Will Ferrell's one of my favorite actors. He just makes me crack up every time.
Well, very good.
Yeah,
I
like
didn't know
all of
that
them.
about you. That's
I
really
love-
great.
Love movies.
I learned something new
Mhm.
today. All right. Last for five. In five, a mentor or someone who has had a significant impact on you. It can be career, professional, or even personal.
So, for the third time and last time, Lady Mario.
Oh, okay.
She taught
Well,
me
you're
at
getting some
Nichols.
shout
I
outs
know.
out there, Lainey, if you're watching or listening.
She better. So yeah, she taught me at Nichols, and I talked to her a lot between classes, and she had a big impact and gave me a lot of advice. But my dad too, he was my boss for my whole life, and so he taught me professionalism. I worked at his retail boot store almost all of my life, and so he taught me a lot about that distinction between the customer's always right and what they believe is always what they believe. And there's a big difference with that. So he taught me a lot about marketing, and word of mouth is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he shaped me a lot professionally.
That's great. So awesome that you had the opportunity to work with him.
Years and years, yes. I was getting off of the school bus at work to work, kindergarten. I would go under the shelf in an offshore bag, those big, huge bags, and zip it up and take a nap underneath the shelf. And nobody knew I was there. They were shopping for their boots, and I was sleeping under the shelf, taking care of the plants.
Well, I guess it makes sense that you wound up as the dean of business. You pretty much have grown up in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's pivot. Let's talk a little bit about Fletcher and all that you do here. And I'm interested to know, you have a really diverse portfolio of programs that you oversee, right? Business, education, the arts, English, the math and sciences, all of these things. What excites you the most about being able to sort of oversee all of these different programs at the college?
I like personalities. I like getting to know different types of personalities. And I think being so diverse in Beams, you get a taste of all of it. The mathematicians versus the artists, the accounting versus the marketing, the science brain. Even in just the sciences, there's all over the board because we have the geologists who are artist type personalities, and then you got the microbiologists, that are very strict and this is this. So I think that's probably why I get along with my whole team and piece where strengths and weaknesses fit together like puzzle pieces, because I can see those personalities and kind of judge how they're going to feel about different things and fit it all together.
Nice. Very good. So, as you're thinking about the programs that you oversee, can you talk to us a little bit about, what is your vision for your area, even in, say, like the next 5 years? What do the programs look like? Do you see opportunities for growth? Do you see some of these programs changing and evolving as technology changes and evolves? What's sort of on the horizon, do you think, for you all?
So I see Fletcher as a whole, which my division is a big, huge portion of Fletcher.
Is, yeah.
It's getting very much more technology focused, AI focused, and not so much as easy stuff. I feel like when I started here, we weren't a community college yet. We were a certificate mostly. It was for the student that was not ready to go to college, maybe had tried the university and came back, and just wanted to work in the lower level. The programs that we have now, like cybersecurity, these are attracting people that have their bachelor's already. They're coming back to get certs and to be refreshed in the new technology that's coming out, because it's the speed of cyber is super quick. So you have to continuously learn. Looking into engineering, associate of engineering, chemistry. Our plants aren't as far as we think they are. They're a hop, skip, and a jump, up the bayou, and so they are in need of people. My son works at BASF, and he gets called in a lot. He makes a lot of hours, 12-hour shifts. Yeah. So they can use some help. Not just BASF, of course, but all of the plants are looking for technicians that can do things that, don't necessarily need a 4-year degree.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because I think when people oftentimes, I know I used to, right, when you think about the sciences and you think about chemistry or even biological sciences, I know we do a lot in environmental sciences. I think many people in their heads think of somebody who is in a sterile lab with beakers and, doing all kinds of experiments. And in reality, these are career pathways, or they're degree programs that really lead you into careers that are hands-on. You can use this in like day to day. It's not like I'm in an experiment in a lab, but actually be in a plant, like you mentioned. And it seems like there's a lot more opportunities in some of these degree programs than I think students realize.
There's a lot of just follow directions jobs. You don't have to be the person that is writing the directions or experimenting to make a new product. There's, quality testers. You do what they tell you to do. And you just have to understand what you're doing and make sure that you're doing it right. So following directions, you learn that in college for sure. In any program.
Absolutely.
And so, you don't necessarily need to go to school for all that long. You can go back to school once you start working too. We know we need families with dual incomes. And so, sometimes getting that job as quickly as you can. And then there's so many online schools. You can hurry up and get your degree, start working, earn money, and then go back to school online.
Right.
So
if you need to, sure thing. Absolutely. So I want to pivot back to something that you just talked about, which is AI, artificial intelligence. And, what do you see in the future with AI, especially in your programs like in business? What do you think the impact is going to be? And how are you preparing your students to work in that world?
Constantly being more efficient. That's what AI is helping us to do. But think about when before we had calculators, there was a lot of paper and scribble scratch. And that's kind of what we're doing now with English. expecting someone to start a rough draft on a piece of paper and, write an outline. And that has changed to using things like ChatGPT and those kind of, there's a bunch out there to start your rough draft. And that's what it is. It's a tool, not something that does it for you, by all means.
Right.
But somewhere to start. It gives us a good rough draft to start with. And then it's very generalized. So you can read any ChatGPT thing and say, yes, this is not an actual person because it's so general. But it gives you a jumping point, to start off with. And it's almost like getting your hands wet when you start doing the dishes. Nobody wants to do the dishes, but when you put your hands in the water and start cleaning the first dish, then you just got to finish, So it's really easy to put in your prompt in that AI and get started, and then it rolls from there. But it saves so much time from having to think about how to start. That it's our calculator.
Yeah.
It's our English calculator.
Absolutely. And it is such a great kind of jumping off point.
Right.
Like you mentioned, because I know so many people who struggle with writing, or, even if you say like put a report together. And sometimes they'll get stopped before they even get started.
Yep.
Just, I would call it putting pen to paper. I know we don't do that too much anymore, but that idea of having that assistance and kind of that springboard allows you to take it and then run with it. And it's funny that you mentioned the calculator. I was at a meeting recently, and we were talking about AI, and the one person said, when the calculator was first introduced, everybody thought it was going to be the end of math as we knew it, like it was going to destroy the whole field of math. And now a calculator is absolutely just an essential tool to do math. So I think you're right. I think AI will inevitably become that for a lot of different professions.
Yeah, and people use it, they don't realize that they're using it.
Yeah.
That's
true too, right? Anytime you use Alexa or Siri, or even on Google now, when you type something in, it gives you that summary at the beginning.
The little blurb at the top. But we're going to teach students how to properly use it, and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable as far as the plagiarism rules and things like that, and how to get a good prompt, because that'll make a big difference with your writing and where you start off from. So that's on the immediate horizon. We're meeting now about implementing that into English classes for sure to start. But I know there's a lot of AI things happening in Homa at the airport coming up.
Absolutely.
So I know you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have some really exciting things happening out at the airport, just in terms of not just, utilizing technology to its fullest, but expanding on that, whether it's in the unmanned aircraft space or in the electric vehicle or electric aircraft space. So it just seems we're on the cusp of just some really wild technological changes in the world that I think are going to really change what we do and how we go forward. So one of the things we've talked about with a few of our guests is that oftentimes there are some hurdles for our students to maybe getting into college, but certainly I think when we work with our students, we see hurdles that they encounter daily. You mentioned even some earlier. I was wondering, can you talk about what you and your faculty do in your division to help students be successful, to help them get the credential, or to be walking across that stage, getting the piece of paper, and getting on with their new career? What supports do you provide to students?
We advise students, and we're there for them. A lot of times you just need to listen. They have their own ideas of how they're going to solve those issues, and they just need affirmation. Do it. That's what you're thinking of, then do it. Making sure that they have a support system. Having friends and family there for you to watch your children, to carpool with, things like that. We like to try to make those connections with them as well. Other students in their classes, having discussion boards where they can just around the water cooler kind of talk. If they can get together and study together, and somebody watch the kids while the others study and things like that. But the advising and counseling piece, I think, is a big one. We also connect them to the right resources on campus. If they need to speak with Ethan or they need to go to financial aid with questions, we bring them to the right place to get the professionals to help with exactly what they need. But connecting them with the right people to talk to and being there to listen, I think is a big part of it. And sometimes they need that confidence that we talked about earlier, and they don't feel confident enough to go speak to a scary professor. We don't call them professors here; they're instructors. But even though we do have some associate professors and all of those things, we like to make sure that we are down to earth people that they feel comfortable talking to. Because if they need to take the test a day later or earlier, sometimes life gets in the way a lot. Mm-hmm. And we have to understand that, and we do. So we work with them as much as we can, and make sure that they know that we are there for them. Yeah. That's our number one priority is their success. So
wonderful. Mm-hmm. Do you have a particular student success story that you would want to share with us?
And I know that I've already asked her if I could say her name.
Okay.
Hannah Fungi. She was here on this campus, probably pretty much when we first opened.
Okay.
She was an office systems technology student with special needs. And I took her under my wing. She would come to my office and sometimes laugh, sometimes cry, just to get it out, sometimes just to say good morning. And I taught her a lot about limitations of, professionalism, when you should text somebody good morning, and when you should, keep it that professional line, right? Because we can't be best friends, even though I like her a whole lot, and now she lives across the street. She just learned a whole lot from us, and she struggled at the beginning, and then really just blossomed and took off when she knew that somebody was in her corner. It made a big difference. She went on to Nichols. She got her bachelor's degree, and now she's going for her master's in music. And she's doing great. She keeps in touch. She sends emails with pictures, and she's just an awesome person. I'm so glad to see her succeeding.
Oh, what a great success story. Yeah. And, to me, that's the joy in what we get to do, because it's so great to see students come in and they're either shy or they're reserved or just lacking that self-confidence, and then to see them go on. Because I think that's one of the things we do really well here at Fletcher is provide that personalized attention. And, we're not huge. And so you do know your instructors. Mm-hmm. They are available to you. You can go in and stop in and talk to them, get advice, seek counsel, or just sit and laugh or cry, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
And there's so many others, students that have had children while they were here, which is a big struggle to come back because, having had children myself, it's hard to get back to real life after you've been home with them. But lost loved ones, parents, things like that. And to see them overcome those barriers and those obstacles are really profound in my life. So awesome. I'm thankful for that.
You have underneath your leadership probably one of the, I would argue, most cited trouble spots for students, math.
Yes.
Right? We have, I think, sometimes people who come in and say, I really want to do this, but I don't want to take a math class. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The fear is real.
It is.
And I'm interested to hear from your perspective, what is it that our faculty are doing here at Fletcher to help people not only overcome that fear of math, but conquer it and be successful in math classes? I know you guys have done a lot of work looking at this very issue. So maybe you could talk a little bit that, especially for folks out there who are like, I think I might want to go to Fletcher, but don't make me take a math class.
So we have math classes that have a 6 credit hour. So it's not the remedials that when I started school, if you had remedials, you can go for 2 years and never really start college because of those math remedials. So now it's evolved into a co-requisite model where you get college algebra or contemporary math, and it has a lab connected to it. So it's 6 credit hours instead of 3. So it meets twice as long to give you the extra help. But we also have great instructors that are available more than you would even imagine. They are going on to teams at night. They're meeting students wherever and whenever they possibly can. And I think that's when I'm walking down the faculty suite hall, that's who I'm seeing in offices is the math instructors with students. They're going over problems, they're changing the numbers, they're going over the same problems more than once so they can see that connection and realize, what's happening with the equations and whatever math problems they're working with. But I hear them when they get it. You can hear it down the hall. It's, oh my gosh, now I understand it now. And it's lovely to hear. And you see them just huddled over this piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Our math faculty, like I said about personalities, they are so different. They're so different. And I feel like if I can go in and take a personality test for all the students, I can match them up perfectly with who they should go with, because of how your brain works and how you understand, the explanation of how to do the problem. It's amazing how it connects like that. We have such brilliant minds in that faculty suite with math. We are going to have a workshop I think in the spring about math anxiety, overcoming math anxiety. And so,
wow, okay.
Hopefully we have a good turnout for that, because I know the struggle is real.
Yeah.
It definitely is. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I did not know that. But
we had calculator classes, workshops on how to use your calculator, because it's complicated. But if you don't know how to use it, you can't use all the features. And if you're missing out on those features, they could be helping you so much, if you know how to use your T whatever, because they got all kind of numbers.
Yeah.
Looking at it, I just want to use the normal
I do the add and the
things.
subtract,
Yes.
multiply, divide. I'm a simple girl.
Yes. But I mean, those graphing calculators, it's like a computer. You need a class to take the actual to do the problems on the calculator.
And I
So
think we
it's amazing.
provide the graphing calculators in the library
Yes,
too
we
for
do.
students because those
Check 'em
can be
out.
expensive.
Mhm.
And so to ensure that students have access to those tools that they
Yeah.
need to be successful, they can get those in the library at no cost to
Yeah.
them.
And we're great at, if we ever run out, we're great at getting them more to check out with laptops and calculators or any tools that you need. We're really good at doing that quickly. When they see they're getting low, they find it. They find the funds somehow and they get it done. And we do have the calculators to check out, and it's by semester basis. But yeah, they're the ones you need too.
Yeah.
Because there's so many versions, and they have on the syllabus T whatever. Like I said, some numbers, and Texas Instruments usually, and you got to find the right one. And if you go to the library, you get it the same day,
Yeah.
and the one you need.
Oh, well, that's very good. Kudos to us
Yes.
on doing that. All right. So the other thing that we are especially proud of at Fletcher is our partnerships with business and industry. That we are very focused on looking at the workforce needs of business and industry around us, because we want our students to be employable. We want them to go out and be able to get good jobs.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how you work with business and industry community partners to make sure that what you're teaching in business, or maybe what you're teaching even in math and science, in education, how are you ensuring that that's lined up with where the jobs are?
Danielle Vauclan had mentioned our advisory boards, and that's definitely, we lean on those advisory boards several times a semester if we need to ask a question, hey, is this still a thing? Or is, what's going on with this? How are you using AI in the office? We bounce those questions off of them pretty regularly. We meet with them. They meet with each other. They enjoy the networking themselves to get together. And they review our programs. Our newest one, the cybersecurity, we definitely leaned on their advice for those programs, because we modeled off our program from BIPC, Bossier Parish Community College, and we had our advisory board look at that, and they did suggest some changes, just because we have more of a maritime industry down here than what they have there, and our needs are different, and so they looked at a couple of classes and said, we need to switch this out, we need to switch that out. And so it evolves. It definitely does. And that speed of cyber that I mentioned earlier, I can see curriculum changes happening quite often.
Yeah.
And having to kind of have a general term for some of these classes, because things like management information systems, that can mean a whole lot of different things. Yeah. And it might mean something different every semester, because that's how quick it changes.
Oh, wow.
And so asking them what programs we need, where should we get these materials? What IBCs should we really focus on? Has been instrumental to building our programs because they know what they need. Yeah. They just have to tell us, and then we listen.
Very good, very good. And for the listening audience, industry-based credential, IBC, that is a credential of value that you can earn that we offer, where you can take that back out and put that on your resume, and it hopefully will get you not only either a job, but also maybe a pay increase if you're already working, which is really very, very important to many of our students. Do you have a specific business partner that maybe you want to give a shout out to that's been really instrumental in one of our programs?
Several. And I keep on talking about cybersecurity because it's the one that I've been working with more recently. But Pete Anderson, this week, we've met twice with him to be a guest speaker because, like we said, we want to be there for our students, and not all of our students could meet at the same time. So he offered to do it twice. So we met virtually on Teams Monday and Wednesday, Monday at noon and Wednesday last night at 6. And so different students would be able to ask questions in real time. And we also recorded it, posting it in their classes so they can listen to it and get those numbers and acronyms, because there's so many of them in IT, to make sure that they understood it. But also, I'm so terrible with names, but his name's Jay at GDIT. He's helped me a lot to focus in on what we need for our students in the IT realm and looking for interns. He's also helped to submit some letters of intent and things like that for grants that I've written, and he's been really good. Kenneth Williams at Suno has helped a whole lot as well in those programs and making sure that I understand what I'm talking about, because I'm marketing management brain, not IT. Yeah. And so he taught me a lot about what he does there at Suno and starting partnership with him with their 4-year degree. Yeah. So.
And you are a division that's known for some firsts. I think you all had the first internship program that was really very squarely embedded into one of our programs and our business program. If somebody out there is saying, oh, I'd love to have an intern from Fletcher, what do they need to do? How do they get in contact with you? What does that look like? Is there a form to fill out? Do they just send an email?
Any and all of the above, except for the form. We don't have that just yet. But pick up the phone and call me, email me. Also, Brandy Savin, the business department head, Kelly Ortego, the business department program coordinator. She's usually the instructor for the course, and so she'll get into the what exactly do we need to do, what forms do we need, MOUs and things like that, to match the student up with that position. But we also have a first. There's a program called Ripen that I am working with and our instructors to set up programs for businesses to design a project for students to complete. So it's not an internship per se, but it's kind of an externship. They design a project with this company called Ripen, and they have deliverables that the students have to submit. So it could be an entire class, 30 students building this flyer. It could be something simple as that. I just need a flyer for this event that I'm having, and say what you want it to say and what you want it to have on it, what design or whatever. And the students can all do that, build this flyer, submit it to this person for free. The business partner does not pay anything. And we use it as a graded assignment. So it's a real life thing.
Real world, yeah.
Yes. The business partner can speak with the students. It's almost like kind of like a job interview or a proof that you can do things. And that's what I'm expecting it to be. And so our first project is already being used right now. And in the spring, we'll have more. We're going to build on that. LumCon, Willie, another one I should thank. Willie's helping us to design something for our IT students. And they're going to look at the Pelican. And, it's going to be find any weaknesses type of cybersecurity project. And you would think, that students normally would not get that opportunity. They would have to do a true internship, 1 or 2 students, going in and doing this. But with this company and their platform, it's really easy for the business partner to design that. So we have about 3 or 4 companies working with Thomas at Ripen to build projects for our students. So it's not just out of a textbook.
Yeah.
It's real life things.
Real life hands-on experience.
And they get product out of it for free.
Yeah. Hey,
And
look, that's a win for everybody,
an
I
employee.
think.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's really cool.
And another first, right? You're just lining them up here. Honors program.
Yes.
So talk to us. This will be our first honors program here at
It is.
Fletcher. What does that look like?
So we have 9 students that are in the program now. They're really excited. They get those hands-on projects that Ripen has put together, but they also have licenses for CyberBit, which is constantly updating its real-life threats that have happened, cyber threats, and they get to detect them and mitigate them and correct them. But they also have learning materials in CyberBit. So it's almost like 100 and something textbooks that normally we get one. Well, this is as much material as you could possibly. You wouldn't have time to go through it all. That's how much it is. And they have those licenses. The requirements for these students, they texted me every day, making sure that they're good to go for the spring. They must be full-time here at Fletcher in CIS, which is Computer Information Systems or cybersecurity. Full-time students, 3.0 or above, and do a certain number of hours in CyberBit and Ripen to keep their status. And so they'll be recognized at our graduation ceremony. I've had one actually is graduating already this semester. So she only had 1 semester in. And so we'll have that first one for sure in the May in graduation to stand up, hopefully, and be recognized for that accomplishment. I think this is going to change our stigma, that perception that a lot of people still are holding on to with community colleges. Because like I said, it's not just for those students like when I started, 20-something years ago. We have students that have certificates, that have full-time jobs, that are coming back to get these upskilling. And it's different to think about because you normally would not connect that to a community college. But things like this, I think, are really going to change people's views about that because the education industry is changing. Yes. You can learn anything, anytime. You just have to prove you know it. Yeah. And that does not necessarily take a degree, even an associate degree. It's those IBCs that you mentioned, industry-based credentials and certificates, third-party tests, not us testing them. There are, real-life companies out there that do that for even their employees, But these very technical skills that they have, it's not typing anymore. We're not just typing anymore.
Right.
And not just programming either.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity and Security Plus with CompTIA certification it's not an easy thing. Medical coding is not easy. Right. A lot of people, come into jobs like that and they think I want to work at home and I want to get my degree or my certificate in a year. And then they realize this is some real stuff.
Right.
This is not simple things, and it's not for everyone. But we're attracting those higher level students now, and I think having that chance to be an honor student, so many of them have said, "I never would have thought I'd be an honor student." It makes me want to cry again. But they said that, I'm honored just to be invited. And you do have to be invited. I run a list, a report, and send out applications to those who qualify. So it's not just, something that people have to think about themselves, but they get an invitation. And just being invited to apply, they feel that,
Again, it's that boost of confidence.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And it's the appreciation of their skills, of what they can do. Mm-hmm. Right. With that, we recently renamed a program. You were talking about office systems that we're not just typewriting anymore. Right. Although
I need to get used to that. So administrative management, we decided, and actually that came from our business industry partners, our advisory board. Students don't know what office systems is. And it was named, it's been there forever, Office Systems Technology. What the heck is that? I don't know what an office system is exactly when they start. And so administrative management professional, these are people that are assistants. They're not necessarily the ones making the big strategic decisions. Business administration is more of your strategic management, big picture type of things. But administrative management is the system part. Really, it's office systems. But small decisions, critical thinking, organizational skills, professionalism, those kind of things that help someone to be an excellent executive assistant that we need so many of them to keep us on track.
Yeah, if it wasn't for my executive assistant, I would be lost.
And she, as I understand it, has Office Systems Technology.
She does. She did. She graduated from a community college, not here in Louisiana, but that community college education certainly paid off for her and for me, for sure. So I want to take a few minutes before we begin to wrap up to say, are there any other programs that you want to highlight? You have such a breadth of programs that you facilitate and help lead here at the college. Are there any others that in particular that you want to make sure that anyone who's out there listening knows about?
Yeah. So environmental science is one that I believe is so important. And a lot of people don't realize what you can do for it. It's not just go and plant some swamp grass in the levee. We are losing our coastline. We really need to understand what we can do to help with that. And there's so many jobs with it. With environmental science, it's not just coastline things either. It's plant work. It's preserving naturalism, and it's a science. It's not general studies. It's not something that you can just do whatever with. It's focused on improving our situation. And it's got a lot of hands-on things, and it's, again, not easy. We have not just environmental science classes, but there's physics involved and water management. There's certifications that are embedded in that program as well. Stormwater management is, there's two different certifications, clean water certificate, and they're hands-on classes, physics, physical science, environmental science. There's actually, I think, don't say that. That's a bad word, calculus. But we have an excellent instructor that helps you through it. But those type of things that it's very technical. It's a science, like you said. You think of the beakers and all of those kind of things. It's understanding what's going to hurt our environment, what's good for our earth, the pH levels, and all of those things. Water testing. Yeah. Helping all the little critters to stay alive in the water. That helps all of the plants to stay alive in the water. That makes that big difference. So, environmental science is a big one. I think more people, if they understood what jobs they could do with it and how they can make a difference in their, where they grew up, where their parents grew up, where their grandparents are here, we don't want to have to leave. And the younger students coming up these days, they really have to think about if they want to stay here. If they want grandchildren to be here, it's really an important decision for them. And without the people that know how to preserve this land and how to build it up, we might not.
Yeah, and our culture is so deeply tied to the land, to the water here in this region. And so educating and training the next generation of students and community members who are going to be good stewards of that environment, right? Who are going to preserve it for my kids and for our grandkids, and for everyone we love. And it's not even just about making sure that the coastline is still there, like you said, or making sure we don't flood. I mean, those are all really critical and important jobs. But at the end of the day, too, it is about preserving the beautiful and amazing culture we have in South Louisiana.
If we're not able to stay here and we scatter, it's going to be a history book. It's going to be a Louisiana history and no more. It's going to be just what was written. And I mean, if you think about it, we have schools that are shut down the bayou that are no more. It's really sad. but we're seeing it happen. You know, they're not rebuilding that school.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. And so it's happening already. And just with Ida, how much land was lost. And it takes so long to rebuild that, just what happened overnight. Yeah. So it's something really serious. It's sad for, a lot of people don't want to hear that in a podcast, but we want to laugh at everything, but it is. And unless we have someone that is interested in preserving it and doing that 24/7, not just for a hobby or for, a volunteer opportunity, it's gonna affect us.
Yeah.
So.
And what a wonderful thing, community's in our name. I say that all the time. And so the preservation of our community, but in fact, the fact that you can come here and in 2 years or less, you can earn a credential that enables you to make a bigger impact sooner.
Right.
Right. So we're not talking about, 8-10 years of schooling. We're talking about a matter of semesters, a matter of months in some circumstances, where then you can be out and making a positive, direct impact on the community, on our environment, and preserving that.
Yes. And we also have Coastal 101 that we're revamping. It's been around for, I understand, a couple of years. I just got it under in my area, but we're making it more accessible and recording what they normally would have had to sit in a seminar for 8 hours to listen to, recording in little snippets. And so they can come home from work, listen an hour, take a little quiz, and get a certificate to say that now you're able to take these other classes. So Coastal 101 is a seminar that has a series of topics. And once you finish that and you get that Coastal 101, you've opened the door for up to 5 different industry-based credentials. There's so many, because with coastal restoration, there's so many facets, so many sides of it. There's a lot of data collection. So IT again, cybersecurity. But there's also a lot of safety classes, heavy equipment, forklift, drone, our airboat, which seems so fun.
Yeah, it looks fun. I haven't worked up the nerve to get on the airboat and try to drive it, but it's on my list of things to do.
Yes. Those things that it's short term. You do this in a matter of hours, depending on which class you take, of course. And then you're able to make that impact and get the job. It's not just volunteer work either. I think people think that coastal restoration is for volunteer work, and then I have to go to work and make money. But there's jobs. We need construction workers. We need a lot of hands on deck to get all of that done. And a lot of it is data collection, doing research with the water, like I said, pH level, and looking to see if the Cajun coral's working. But drone flying, things like that we have to see what we're doing is working, and decide what we're going to do to help it. So,
well, and there's so much. There are a lot of jobs coming to Louisiana in that specific sector. We see investments. We know that our state is really committed to rebuilding and sustaining and preserving the coast. And so there are good jobs. And many of them you can get access to by coming here and getting some of these certifications. So a really great opportunity to take something that many of us are passionate about and to create a career.
Right.
And there's no better way. Yeah. Oh, and it's free. Wait.
That class is free.
It's free. Okay.
You don't pay for Coastal 101. We have Restore Act funds with a grant that pays for that class and those credentials. And so there's a form on our website.
Okay.
If you go to fletcher.edu and go to programs under beams, there's Coastal 101, and there's a registration form, and that collects everything that we need. We contact you, we get you all scheduled and done. We're actually taping now the different segments to have it available anytime, but we do have one more class in person on January 11th.
January 11th. So if you're interested in helping preserve or save our coast, be sure to visit us at fletcher.edu to get more information. So I always like to end my podcast with a couple of different questions for you. So one of them is, love to circle back to the personal and maybe share a little bit more with our audience. I know that you have deep ties to Mexico.
Oh, yes, I
Big fan of Day of the Dead. You always decorate here on campus.
do. Yeah.
And I think you have some connections to maybe some tequila. Tell us a little bit about
Right.
that.
So, via my husband, we've been together for 30 years. I was 16 years old when we was boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah. His family is from Guadalajara, and we go there every year, usually for the month of July, which is not the Day of the Dead. But my birthday is November 2nd, so I think that's why I like that holiday a lot. That's my little emblem. My logo is a sugar skull. I like that stuff. But the Day of the Dead just means something to me because my heritage, my family. I think it's a culture thing that I love so much. But the story of the Day of the Dead is maybe you've seen Coco or the Book
It's
of
one of my
Life.
favorites, but share with everybody else who maybe
Yes,
hasn't.
yes. So our family members are always with us until they're forgotten, until there's no one on earth that remembers them. And so if we remember them and carry them, that old man in the sea,
Yeah.
with me, then they never die.
Yeah.
You know, their stories live, and you have to preserve that. And that's just a holiday for us to showcase, you know, who they were and tell stories, keep their memory alive. But the tequila, my family in Mexico, my husband's family in Mexico, has a distillery that they built to help out their community. So they were in machine shop business. They made the machines that grind the agave to make tequila. And so after building the factories for all of the different companies that are in Jalisco, which is where all tequila is from, they decided they're going to build their own factory, and they're going to put it in where their ancestors are from. And so it's called Estipac. It's Hacienda Estipac, and Estipac is the town where their ancestors are from. And so it created jobs for people, and they're blowing and going. They also and it's a seasonal type thing. You know, you don't have to make it continuously since we age it and things like that. But they also rent out the factory to other businesses that make things like agave syrup or pharmaceuticals and things like that. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a center of the community. They do a lot of functions there and stuff like that. So it's really nice.
That is very nice. And it almost feels like a tie to our community. Because when you look around, you see so many of our business and industries that were started as family businesses,
Right.
were started because people wanted to be able to stay here in this community and live and work and play. And so many of the business and industry partners I know we interact with daily, that's, you know, they are doing their business, but they're also giving back to the community. And to me, that's what strong communities are all about. So it's very cool that you are tied to that here in this
Right.
community, but also tied to it
Yeah.
actually internationally
Yeah.
and through another community that is doing the same. So that's a beautiful, beautiful message. So ending it with, what advice, if you had a piece of advice that you would like to share with those who are with us today, listening in on or watching this podcast, what would you like to offer them as a takeaway?
I have so many, but the one that I thought of, because I knew that was coming, I'm prepared.
I'm not predictable anymore, or I am predictable now, or something like that.
Diligence. It's that back to that old man in the sea. Don't give up. Just don't give up. A lot of people, I think, are afraid of failure, and so they don't start. But failure is only exists if it's the end. If you don't give up, then you haven't failed. It's only when you give up that it's the end of the road. You know, you can take different forks in that road. Doesn't mean that the fork that you moved off of or chose, that's not a failure. It's a pivot. If you read a lot of things about higher ed and grading systems and things, there's a new thing called not yet. Instead of you have an F, you have a not yet. So you continue learning, you retake the class, you know, you restart, refresh, and you just didn't pass yet. But I view the same thing as success. You know, if you say I'm done, I have succeeded, that's the end. And is it really the end? Because, you know, continuously learning, always getting better. There's you can be on the road to successfulness all the time, even if you feel like you're a little behind. Failures doesn't really exist.
Wow.
I think it's something that we've made up, or labeled something or someone, because it only exists if you've given up.
Yeah.
So just don't give up.
I totally agree. And I love the message about success too, right? It goes back to your point earlier about we are now seeing students who are entering into Fletcher who have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees, but have embraced that idea of continuing to learn.
Right.
Just recently, we had a symposium here. We welcomed attorneys and engineers, people with advanced degrees. In the case of law, a terminal degree, which should be, like you just said,
it's never the end.
I've reached the end. I've got this degree, and yet they were back here learning. And I hope that people who are out there listening to this podcast are hearing that Fletcher has something for everyone. You may think about us in terms of a short-term credential or an associate's degree, but we also really want to be a place where even if you have a PhD, come and take an airboat class like me, right? I don't know how to drive an airboat, but maybe by the time I'm retired, I'll be an airboat driver. But the opportunity, to continue to learn and to continue to find success and to pivot. Right. I love that too.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
Dean Susan Guerrero, Dean of Beams here at Fletcher Technical Community College, for being with us today. You have been listening to Bridging the Bayou, a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Please subscribe and like us wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to Bridging the Bayou, the podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.